Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and today I get to interview Alex. So, Alex, welcome, man.
Hey man, nice to have you. Nice to be here.
It's all good, man. It's all good. Uh, can you tell us your full type, please?
Yeah, I'm an ISTP, TI-SE, consume, sleep, play, blast, last, and double feminine.
All right, sweet, man. Uh, all good, dude. You have feminine sensory, so it's all good. uh,
Yeah, don't even remember my fucking birthday anymore. It's like it's every year I have to look it up.
yeah, that's funny. Uh, Now, when you got your typing results back, what did you think and how did you feel?
Uh, Oof, yeah, man, it was kind of a strange one because it was almost the type that I actually thought I was. And previously actually thought I was, right? So I self-typed myself like also the type after I threw out the possibility that I'm an INTP. And yeah, man, it was just like, I don't know, you're really nervous. And then with the audio service these days, it's also like really cool to actually have like Dave explain why you are an INTP, right? And an IP, I mean, and like a bunch of other stuff that was also really interesting. And so yeah, it was really exciting. And I was, yeah, I don't know. It's just like I was thinking I was an observer for the longest time because like I asked people like what they think, right? And they were like, oh, you're talking about things, so obviously an observer, right? And you're sometimes you double decide even, right? And I'm like, okay, well then I'm an EP, great. Let's pretend to be one forever. Yeah. So, and so when that came up, I was like, okay, awesome. And then it's like, oh, and then I realized another thing before when we scheduled the interview, what Dave said in the audio, right? Because they're joking, right, that the ISTP is kind of the best type or whatever, right? But then Dave admitted to me that actually his favorite type is the ENFP, and then I thought, oh, like, why is that, right? But his father is an ISTP, right, and his brother is an ENFP, obviously, so he loves them, right? And so I was like, yeah, if I can call you my son, you can call me daddy, right? So, anyways, yeah, that was that. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess there's the type that he thinks is the best, and there's also his favorite type. So those are different, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly. Like look up to your father, right? And then love your brother, something like that, maybe.
exactly, yeah, that's why yeah, his brother's an ENFP. I did interview him on my in on his car a long time ago. I don't know if you saw that video.
Oh, really?
I was in his car in his vehicle, and then because he used to do meetups in person like long time ago.
Oh, true. I remember. Yeah, it's been a long time ago, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Shit.
So he did say that ENFPs were his best business partner ever was an ENFP because
Really?
he's an IJ, so an IJ is focused, right?
Yeah.
And but he said that all the chaos comes in, so he needed an EP to be the scanner to see all the chaos coming, so they can prevent the chaos from happening because the EPs can see all the spectrum of like this the incoming things because they're gathering nonstop, right? So like you guys can do it too as an IP, especially you because you're like an IP EP. So you can also see this like all the chaos coming. So it doesn't bother you because you can see it coming, right? So it bothers the IJs because they don't see it coming, you know.
Yeah, true. I'm kind of a chaos monkey in a sense, but it also kind of it can get annoying, right? But obviously.
Yeah. But you're balanced because you're like, you're a double observer,
Yeah,
right? So,
apparently so, man. I'm like never really know. I don't really understand double observing yet. I'm still kind of processing that right now, but yeah.
oh yeah, we can chat about it. I have so much more appreciation for double observing since my new job because the person training me is a double observer. So I'm like with people problems. So she's like, I'm like, your people problem are not that big of a deal, but the double observer stuff that's very impressive. So the person training me right now is an ENFJ. So same function stack as you, just the opposite, right? You know.
Hmm.
So I have a newfound admiration for that like SE and NI in the middle. I think that's like really good, you know. Um
I mean, yeah, I can get behind that. I mean, yeah, awesome.
yeah,
But
yeah, we'll talk about it in a bit. I want
yeah,
to go over your parts first. Let's start with your ST, your SETI, your consume. So your lead
yeah.
consume and it's double activated. And your so how do you personally experience a double activated ST consume of yours?
Uh, Yeah, good question, man. I was actually thinking about that, but I don't really notice it. But I mean, for the most part, I'm just looking at. I guess I'm looking at stuff that kind of is interesting in a sense that I can learn something. I guess. With my job, it was really useful, I guess, because you were like, okay, I have to get this shit done, right? So you look up a bunch of documentation, like possibilities to actually like possibilities that make kind of sense for the task that is at hand, right? And yeah, and when in my free time, I usually like, I don't know, I watch a bunch of random crap. It's like sometimes it's maths videos, physics, how people build huts in the woods, right? And shit like that. So I guess it's kind of that. It's never like stuff that I just enjoy. Like I couldn't, for example, just listen to music or something like that. I got really annoyed after a while, because like there's nothing, you know, nothing to process in a sense. I guess it's something like that, right? I might be wrong about the interpretation.
Well, I mean, your SF is play, so if you're gonna listen to music, I think you prefer to do it with the tribe because that's the SF side, right? So if you're doing anything fun and enjoyable, you like, you know, that like music, for example, then it has to be tribe related, you know.
Yeah, true. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, like when you're with people, that's kind of more fun. And generally, like fucking around with people is it's just great fun, right?
Yeah.
Not that I do it often, right? Because like tribe is at the bottom, and it's very difficult for me to actually like interact with anyone beside people that I really like know really well, right?
Right.
But yeah, in general, it's yeah.
Um, it's hard to see your first animal, so it's hard to explain it. So don't worry about it. Most people cannot see their first animal. It's like it's so automatic. Like
Yeah,
especially yours is double activated. You know, I have double activated too for my first animal. It's kind of hard to explain. You know, let's go over your second one. So the second one most people can see and they can actually like explain it. Your second animal is sleep, and your sleep is NT. Probably why you thought you're an INTP because you have a savior NT, and it's sleep, right? And your sleep is double masculine also. So very strong gravitational pull towards that specific animal because it's double masculine. The double masculine you cannot ignore. Doesn't matter if it's last, you cannot ignore it if it's double masculine. So yours is sleep, NT, NITI. How do you personally see that NT sleep? What are you doing with that NT sleep?
yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I've been noticing it more the last couple of years because I'm like processing the type and shit like that. And I think what I'm doing is basically like trying to figure out like what's going on, trying to figure out like how things work, and it's also like setting rules for yourself, right? If you I don't know, it's like it can be dumb shit. Like, and when I lived in Berlin, I found out, okay, if you don't look like if you don't have your eyes on the streets, you usually you'll step into shit, in dog shit, right? And so it was like, okay, I need to set a rule that I always do this, right? And then there's a bunch of other stuff like also like when you think with the double masculine, I think it's also kind of a stubbornness with that, right? You think you know like how something works or what's going on in the moment, right? And you just roll over other people, like in the worst, sometimes in the worst kind of way. And then you realize later, ah, shit, I should have been a bit more movable in that sense, right? Um, and yeah, it's just constantly thinking through shit, I guess. It's not um like especially like the last couple of days and shit like that, like typology. And before the interview, I was like, okay, now I have a couple of days, so I want to prepare like I don't know, prepare for that, right? And think about what I want to talk about, or like if I, yeah, stuff like that, right? Um, and yeah, it's basically just thinking about a lot of shit. I don't know how to explain it, right? Kind of figuring out stuff in my head, and constantly like being in the cloud, so to speak.
So it's because it's sleep. Is it very personal to you how you figure things out? Like you don't want anyone to tell you the answer. You want to figure it out yourself, or do you care if people tell you the answer, or
To,
does
to a fault, man. It's like so when I approach a new topic, right? I I want to figure like so back then it was like I want to figure everything out by myself. Leave me alone. I'll talk to you in 3 years when I know what's going on, right? But these days it's like okay, I try to get as far as I can alone. Like I don't know, with programming or like I don't know, lock picking or shit like that, right? I try to get as far as I can alone, and then when I can figure it out, I look around, right? And the last thing I do is actually ask other people, right?
right?
And yeah, so and with programming, I found like it was really bad in my first or like in the first 2 years where I literally didn't ask anybody for help. I always tried to figure shit out, and then it took like a task that would have taken a couple of days took me like weeks, right? Because
Right.
I'm like, oh, I have to understand this and I need to understand that. Obviously, that guy also knows it, right? I could just ask him, but like, yeah, no, I have to do it myself. So yeah, kind of a stubborn way to figure shit out yourself. But these days, again, I'm trying to just get as far as I can, and then like until I hit a wall where I'm like, okay, I won't get better if I don't like look around, ask around, right?
Yeah, I think that's what I like about OPS a lot. Is like knowing that everyone has a different sleep animal, and the sleep animal is what's personal. Um, I'm right now in my new job as a recruiter. I'm being trained by an ENFJ, and I think she's a blast, play, sleep, consume. And when she's training me and I'm asking her for the answer, she's like, "No, I need you to figure it out yourself." Like,
Oh, really?
because she's projecting, right, as being
Yeah.
having NT sleep also, because ENFJs have the same function stack as you, so their sleep is also
Yeah.
NT. So she's
I love it,
projecting.
man.
She's like, "Yeah, sleep." She's like, "You need to figure it out yourself." I'm like, "I don't care to figure it out myself. My NT is play. I figure it out with a tribe." So but I mean I can't say that to her because she doesn't understand OPS. So I'm like, okay, well, there's no point of me even explaining this to this person because she's not in the personality space, right? So for you, you get it if I bring it up to you. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Everyone has like different animals, blah blah blah, different positions. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, so like for example, like I have SF sleep, right? But
Hmm.
I know you guys have SF play.
Yeah.
So in that case, I'll just use it and play it. Who cares? Like what's the problem? Who cares? Like it's personal to me, but whatever. I know that at the end of the day, it's all fake bullshit like animals and stuff. It's like it's just your own self-perception of something, right? It's not really
Yeah.
real. Like it's like, oh, I think this is personal, but it's not really real. I think it's real, but it's in reality, it's not real. So
Yeah.
I'll just use everything, whatever. Um, but the personal stuff is still interesting because you have NT sleep, I have SF sleep. Um,
Yeah. We're kind of on the opposite on the opposite ends, which is kind of funny. So
yeah, it is opposite. Yeah, we're exactly opposite. Yeah, because you
yeah.
have NF blast, but I have NF consume, right? And I have ST blast and you have ST consume. So it's our animals are everything's completely opposite of each other, essentially.
Oh
So
man, this sounds like so much fun. We could annoy the shit out of each other, man. This is so awesome.
well, you would think that but actually no. I have ISTP friends and INFJ friends, like and they have the same animal functions as you, and it's fine. Actually, if anything, you're like curious about each other.
Yeah.
You're like, so what are you doing? Because it's like completely like foreign, right? Like
Yeah.
there's no overlap at all, right? Like for example, for you, if you talk to an INTP, right? Well, you guess what? You guys both have TI, and you guys both have what's the other one? Um, FE, right? You guys have TI and FE together. So there's something that you share already,
Hmm.
Then that in that case you would just be curious about the SI and the SI, and the NE,
Yeah.
right? And then they would be curious about your SE and your NI, right? So,
Yeah.
but when there's no overlap, then it's like, huh? You're an alien. And then it's like fascinating, right? It's like, huh?
Yeah, it truly is. But I also like I also have like a what is it, appreciation for TE users in a sense, because it's like I know like one of my best buddies, I think he's also like FI something something, maybe IP, and or observer. And what I've noticed like at work, I worked with him for a couple of years, and at work it's just so crazy because that guy is really getting shit done, right? So maybe also not blast, right? But he's also like asking around, right, like figuring out what everybody like what needs to happen, like based on like the tribe and shit like that, and then gets to work and just does it instead of like, oh, I need to figure this out myself and like talk to me in a week or something like that, right? And so there's that also as well, right? Like being opposite and looking at that stuff is just fascinating, man. Like obviously for them, I'm like for him, I'm also kind of funny because like I do weird stuff that you would never do, right?
Right. Yeah. It's definitely interesting to see like the differences and whatnot. My ISTP friend is extroverted though. I think he's consume play blast sleep, so he's like an
Oh,
extroverted like ISTP.
cool guy. I
What's
wish I
that?
was.
Yeah, double activated SF. So he yeah. So it definitely helps him a lot. Like one of the issues that you guys have as an ISTP is the FE in the bottom, right? So you want to connect emotionally to people, but for you, it's your consume sleep. So like, what the hell? Like, you can't even go to the tribe, right? Like, it's hard for you guys. But for him, he has play and blast, so he can kind of do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's also what I admire about the sleep lasts. It's just even if they are like TI at the top, right? They can just go around and ping with the tribe, and it's just freaking cool to see.
yeah. And then you get what
Uh,
you want, which is friends, like F or the FE.
right?
Yeah, my friend is probably like the happiest ISTP I've seen because he's like hanging out with people all the time. You know,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. I can get that, man. It's kind of So it's also kind of funny, right? Because you appear like, especially for people that don't know topology, right? You appear a certain way to people, and then they're surprised that you like kind of have a friendly side, right? And they don't even know that you're kind of desperate to have friends, right? In your mind, it's like, obviously it's all about validation, right? I want to be validated and I want to do the thing, right? But then it's also like, I also want to have friends.
Yeah.
And it's like in the weirdest way, I guess. And yeah, so what I've also like realized one day is like, I don't know, man, there was like some homeless guy. He was really hungry or something like that, wanted a banana or something, and I just gave him like all the food that I had, because like he really looked like fucked up, right? And it was at the time when we had like Syrian refugees, so I assumed he was a refugee, and it was with my classmates, and they are like, since when are you like this? Like, because obviously they know me just like the fucking asshole that fucks with everybody, or just shuts up and never talks to anyone, right?
Right.
It's like, but I want to be friendly and help people, you know?
Yeah. That's so funny, and the way you did that too was funny, because it's like it's very feminine. It's your feminine FE, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also kind of a funny thing to have caught, right? Because like when the first time I heard about modalities, I was like, oh, double masculine. Yeah, I'm a man. I'm double masculine, dude. Look at me, right? And then it's like, and then they explain it more and more. It's like, yeah, I'm kind of a giggly little bitch. So yeah, you know, and it's fine. Like TI, also masculine TI, awesome, great, right? Maybe that's also good. But
Well, you're masculine inside, you're feminine outside. So
exactly, yeah.
Because everyone is both. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because everyone is both, right? So you're both.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Because
Once
like
you realize that, it's actually
those
fine.
tough guys that you see, they're a girl. They're very feminine inside, right? So like, you know, like if you see like a tough double masculine person, like guy, you know, no one will know that inside they're really double feminine. You know, like, you know.
I think people, or like there's a saying, right? If you're like hard shell and then soft inside, something like that. A German saying, maybe there's someone in English. I sadly don't know.
Maybe. Yeah,
but
that's.
I really early realized that this is actually fucking true, right? So like with bullies at school, or just people that try to appear tough and is pushing at everybody, right? And then you just like go there and it's like, hey, I think you're nice, right? And then they're like, oh, okay, right? Totally different, a totally different vibe. And then they stop fucking like you know, punching you and shit like that, because then they feel safe around you, right? Because you acknowledge their like soft inner world, so to speak.
It's so funny. I have a double masculine friend back in like when I was in high school, and he used to like beat everyone up. Like he used to fucking like assault everyone in school because he's so big and like powerful, and he likes to start shit. So he's like very like masculine, right? But in the moment he sees a puppy, he'll be like, "Oh, cutie, 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 oh, cutie." And I was like, "What the hell? Who's this person? What the fuck is this?" You know? He's like, "Ooh," like he's like hugging it and stuff. Like I'm like, what the fuck? You know? Or sometimes he'll look at pictures of like, let's say someone takes a picture of him with in his other friends. He'll look at the picture, he'll get really sad, you know. He'll look at it and get really emotional. So it's like, you know, because feminine inside, right? So it's
it's the funniest thing, man. Like especially with the buff guys, you just sometimes I had like this like kind of a hobby, right? I go up to some tough guys, and my friends are like, go away, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I'm like, hey guys, what's up? And then you know they kind of look at you strangely at first, and then they're like, oh, all good, like welcome in the club and shit like that. Just because like, you know, if you kind of know that shit, it's kind of it's the funniest shit, because you would never expect that from people like that, right?
Yeah.
And maybe you wouldn't expect from a giggly bitch like me that I'm an actual sociopath. So
yeah, exactly. You're double masculine inside, you know. So like I'm also double masculine inside. So I get it. I get where that come from. Yeah. Like, don't be fooled by the friendliness on the outside.
yeah, exactly. Like
yeah.
Never fuck with me. I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Yours is the front end though. Your double masculine is in the front end because you have your sleep as a savior. I have mine is the demon. So yours, yours is already coming out though. Yours is not like hidden, you know.
That makes sense. Yeah. That's actually still also something that I have to process, right? Also, like with the NI shit, people like had a difficulty, like even they've had a difficulty like figuring out whether I'm intuitive or not, like INTP or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, true. I actually never thought about this. True, this is a savior, and then basically both my saviors are also both my savior animals are also both my fucking saviors. So
yeah,
it's kind of probably.
But the interesting thing about you is your two middle animals, because usually people are balanced in the middle, right? Even if your third animal, usually people can use it pretty good, even though it's a demon. I don't think demons are really the right word. I think it's more like it's like a part-time thing. You'll still use
yeah.
it, just not all the time.
Slightly neglected.
Slightly, but not enough that it's bad. It's still
Yeah.
good. It's still good, like, or functional. Um, so you have double masculine sleep, right? And then double feminine play in the middle. So you're gonna be like the most bipolar person in the world because like one
Yeah.
minute you'll be like freaking raging as like a raging maniac with your double masculine, and the next thing you'll be like the most feminine person, like really scared, like person, and it's like what the hell's going on with Alex? Like aggressive and then really like wimpy and then like back and forth really quickly too. It's like like
It's
what's going
funny
on?
because honestly, that makes so much sense. I didn't even look at it like this, man. This is exactly what my friends would say about me, right?
Yeah, you have like the bipolar swing like really quick too,
Yeah.
like I wouldn't be surprised if you're bipolar. Just kidding. Like,
No, really, I actually thought that myself. Because like obviously like but what I don't mean obviously, but um I kind of noticed those swings as well, right? Because one moment I can be like this one, or one day whatever, and then I swing back to that, and it's like, am I bipolar? So I Google it, right, and then look what it is, and actually, might be, but don't think so, or I don't know.
or maybe like a minor like
Yes,
version.
slightly, probably slightly. Let's be honest, a tiny bit, maybe a bigger bit. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah. Well, because I'm play blast. I'm a crackhead, right? So
Yeah.
like I get accused of being manic, right? And then, but I
I
wouldn't be
call these
surprised.
people fun.
What's
Sorry,
that?
I call people like that fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It is fun being but it's manic, and then you have ADHD. I mean, I'm pretty sure I have all that. I didn't even bother checking because like we'll talk about the social type in a second because I think that's also interesting.
Mhm.
But yeah, so um, well, since we're in this topic already, let's talk about the social type. What social type do you think you are?
Um, Yeah, I've been looking into this for a while. Not for too long, so maybe it will change. But for now, I'm pretty sure that I'm a four. Because it's kind of a weird one, right? Like friends is basically what you want, right? And it's your demon. And on the other hand, you're kind of you're doing basically everything that you can for your friends, right? And
Oh
I
shit, you're the
mean,
same type as Keanu Reeves, right?
Maybe, yeah, man. Maybe I like if I was him, like if I'm his type, man, I have so much work to do to become like such a great motherfucker. But
He's also a four, by the way, and he's
yeah, I think so. I can also relate to that shit because it's like, so with me, obviously, like the TI thing is like I want to be the best at whatever I do, right? But I don't really want to compete with my friends, or at least I don't like when we play games, right? For example, Super Smash Bros. Or something like that. I don't want to beat them, right? I don't. I want to have fun, right? So I don't want to become too good.
yes,
So I always like, or if I'm too good, I'm like, okay, let them win a couple times, right? Because I don't want to be. I just want to have people to play with. I don't want to be the best at the games we play. And
yeah,
the games that we can like play competitively, I always cooperate and play against other fuckheads on the internet, right? I don't want to like beat my friends up, right?
yeah,
And it's also like I don't know, man. If you ask me to help, like I have one rule that I have like just set for myself in my life. It's like when somebody needs help moving, right? Anybody really, like even like somebody on the periphery, right? They want help moving, I'm gonna help them move, right? I'm gonna rent a car, or, like obviously they have to pay for that shit, right? So that's like just one thing. But I get the car, I help them like well everything that is included in that, right? And I do that basically every time. There are only two times that I can like that I really couldn't because I was like 500 kilometers away, right? But yeah, that's like one thing. And yeah, and usually my friends don't ask me for help because like obviously I appear like a selfish ass, and which I am, I guess. But when they do, it's like always I'm like, yes, let's go, right? So it's
right.
kind of. And the second part of that is already like the specialization thing, right? So maybe also to compare to Keanu, he also like went way into acting, right?
Yeah,
And that's basically like his thing. And my thing is programming, right? So I considered like some other jobs. I even did like systems administration for a year just to like see how it is, right?
right,
But I know I will stay in that field for basically as long as I can, right? With software development shit and or computers in general, let's say.
right. That makes sense. I thought you were a four actually. It's kind of obvious to me that you're a four.
Yeah, how come? In your own words,
Oh no,
if you
you're
don't.
just super friendly. So you're just super
Oh,
friendly.
thank you.
Yeah. There you go. You're that's gonna be your new trademark now. This. Yeah, that's guaranteed to get you like lots of friends. You just do this once, you have like 10 friends already.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yay, friends.
yeah, exactly. Um, and then so you have that means you have demon responsibility. So what does that demon responsibility look like? It's not the worst demon though. It's so I'll ask you this as a two-part question. Okay, so one is right now. I guess you don't want to be the manager. You don't want to be in charge of like people. No, but because this is a two-part question, because it's a demon. Usually, as you get older, you start wanting to learn more about your demons, right? So, do you see yourself when you're like 50 or 60? Maybe that's something that you would do a little bit more, or maybe if you start a family, maybe that's something you would do more. Be responsible for other people because it's technically activated, right? Because it's third, you know.
Interesting one. Man, I'm learning like more about OPS in this interview than I have done the last couple of weeks, man. This is fucking amazing. And I never actually looked at the demons, right? I look, oh, those are the strengths, right? And oh, fine, right? I never thought about it. And then it's kind of interesting also to like put this together in context with Blast, right? You never get started, and also you don't want to take responsibility, right?
Right.
So it's kind of, and that actually is kind of reflected in my life, especially right now where I'm kind of in a low point, because I don't do anything right now. I'm just I have my savings, right, and I can just like belly rub the cat and do nothing for until my money runs out, right? And
Right.
yeah, and I haven't actually thought about that, right? Because my like past self work, so to speak, was basically like get better with the emotion shit, right? Because it's just so incredibly damaging if you don't do that shit. And I've like noticed it over the last couple of years, right? It's like or notice it about my life, right? Because if you repress that shit, it comes out, and it comes out in the worst fucking situations, and then stupid shit happens, right? And so that was basically my focus. And now actually it's a kind of a good thing to think about, like what's the next thing. So maybe I should actually take responsibility for others, right? Try to become like some sort of manager, or at least manage some little team and shit like that. Yeah, that's really interesting. I currently, so because of that, I haven't thought about it. I have a hard time imagining being there one day, but of course life will happen, right? So and this is actually a very, very good consideration. Yeah, so yeah, I will think about it, man. This is awesome. This is actually really good to think about it.
I think you have the same problem as me. It's like your animal stack doesn't match up with your social type, and then it causes like
What's yours again, if I may ask?
I'm an ENFP, NETE, play, blast, consume, sleep, MF. So
and social type was, what do you think?
well, I asked David Shan. They think I'm either a 4 or 2. They're not sure.
Okay.
I think I'm a 2 because I was watching a video with Shan recently where she was describing a 4, and I was like, I do not relate. I do not relate to this. But I thought I considered it because I'm like, I have so many friends. I'm definitely save your friends. That was guaranteed. Like I couldn't tell about the other stuff, but the save your friends was obvious. And then it's kind of like your situation where there's like you're having is it a cognitive dissonance where there's like some kind of misalignment happening inside. So I'll explain what's going on for you and me. Okay, so it's kind of like why we're both having this weird cognitive dissonance. Okay, so you're a 4, so you're save your friends, right? And that's play, but your play is a demon, right? So that's already like there's already a disconnect, as you can see, right?
Yeah, totally.
And then your second is specialization, and specialization is blast, but your blast last, right? So you can see the problem already, right? And then your third one is 2, which is responsibility, entrepreneurship, and work, right? And it's consumed. So that's your savior. So technically, so that's your first animal technically. So it's kind of weird, right? So there's already a dissonance, right? And then your fourth one is 1, right? Which is status, competitive, being the best, ego, flexing, right? And that's tied to your sleep, which is a savior, double masculine too. So it's like so everything about you is a cognitive dissonance, and I have the same problem as you because I'm tribe above self, right? I'm play, blast, consume, sleep, so I've consumed demon, right? But I'm a 2, and 2 is consumed, so my 2 is my social type, but consume is my demon, right? So there's that the same dissonance as you have, right? And
This
then
is amazing.
yeah, and then I have play second, which is a savior, and I have double activate play. That's why. So that's a match. That's a right match.
Yeah.
So that's why I could come across as 4, and I thought maybe I'm a 4 because I have double activated play, and I'm a 2, and 2s have friends as a savior also. So double activated plus friends, it feels stronger than the 2, right? And then and then third is ego, right? Ego and flexing, right? So number ones have ego, flexing, competition, blah blah, all that stuff, right? But I'm sleep last, right? So as a result, I come across as a 4 because fours have 1 last, right? They have 1 last, and then I'm sleep last, which is pretty much 1, right? So so that's why it appears like I could be a 4, and I thought maybe I'm a 4, but it's because I'm sleep last, right? And then my last one is what do you call it? 3, which is specialization, right? But I have blast savior, so that kind of helps me because I'm working on my worst social type. So actually specialization is not the worst for me. I get triggered by it. I get absolutely triggered by it because
like how?
I'm my job right now is specialization. I get triggered every day. I hate it, right? I hate it so much. My company knows I have a YouTube channel, so if they're watching this, that's it's kind of funny. Yeah, my bosses, they all know I have a YouTube channel. They all subscribe to. So I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit though, because like I'm a double decider. So like it's fine. It's fine. I'm just being honest, right? So if they know whatever, I still do my job, right? So it doesn't matter. So and I don't think they're gonna watch. So unless someone forwards it.
Let's hope not.
But yeah, what I don't, you know what? It doesn't really bother me otherwise. I'm like when it comes to people, it doesn't bother me, man. It does. As being a double sider, it just doesn't bother me. Just
yeah. It's
but,
actually funny shit. Like I couldn't do that, man. It's just like fuck, it's scary. Like even now, it's like it's kind of scary. I'm on the internet probably sometime. Anyways.
Yeah, the IPs and EJs have that weird freak out. Like I get messages from like IPs and EJs all the time. Like the IJs also kind of freak out, but not because of the people, but because they're like, I don't want chaos to happen. But I'm like, no, I'm not really scared of getting judged. I don't give a shit. That's what they also say, right? It's the chaos,
Yeah.
So, but anyhow, so as you can see, we're both living a life of cognitive dissonance as a result of like mismatch of our specific social type and animal stack. It doesn't match.
Yeah.
It doesn't match.
It's actually kind of hilarious though. It's like it seems like I'm like bipolar on top of bipolar, man. Man, this explains so much.
Yeah.
But but it's also cool if you like in your case where you have that where you at least have one thing that kind of matches up, right? So you have like an easier time with this, so you can actually work on the other stuff a little easier, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at who am I looking at here? Like let's say let's see maybe Elon Musk or Bill Gates, because they're like they're both like what, sleep consume play blast, or consume sleep play blast, right? So they have a little bit more of an alignment, a little bit more like they don't know yet if Bill Gates is a 1 or 2, but it doesn't matter which one, because 1 is equals to sleep, right? And he has sleep savior, so it doesn't matter, right? And then and then 1 also has consume one's also have consume savior, or as because they're 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So and 2 is correlated with consume. So it doesn't matter if he's type as a 1 or 2, he would have the saviors, his animals match up with his social type exactly. There's no it's like the absolute perfect fit. So there's no inner battle going on. They can just go follow their day-to-day thing, and it's okay, right? Like yeah,
that's pretty damn cool, man. Actually, the social type stuff, at first I was like, what is this, right? It's like, hopefully they just don't make it up. But then when you look into this a bit, it makes a lot of sense, man. Like, it's awesome to see that.
Yeah, but they're still hashing it out, right? So it's not complete yet. It's
yeah, true. He said something like that, right? So it's probably in like the next 2 years or something they will have
because right now the animals are pretty hashed out. It's pretty good. Like it's pretty good. I mean, sure, there's still stuff to learn, obviously, right? But compared to when they first released the animals, it was more confusing, right? Like they said they mistyped some people, they had to retype them, right? So which is good. Then they're taking ownership of their system and refining it, and it's kind of like it's like the best thing ever, because like I feel like the best companies, like I don't if do you play Blizzard games?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like
StarCraft and shit.
yeah, StarCraft, Diablo, all that stuff, right? So I don't know if you noticed, but like Diablo 4, they did a beta testing recently, right? Before they released the full game. So before they release anything completely or declare as finished, they always have a beta test with the tribe, right? Because ultimately nothing is complete, even if you think TI wise you've already completed the system. It's not complete if you don't release it to the tribe first to see if it's gonna hold up. Because if it doesn't hold up, then your whatever you built is garbage essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like also common practice at my work, right? Where you think it's done, right, and then somebody tests it, and it's fucking shit. So you have to go back and then rework and always have that feedback with your customers.
Yeah, you always need tribe feedback. Exactly. Always. Like that's why they did a video on Mark Rober. I don't know if you saw that video, the ENTP guy.
Yeah, I mean, I know him, but I didn't watch many videos in the last couple of months, I think.
Okay.
Remember?
But have you seen his YouTube channel, right? When he does like
that. Yeah, I know him. Yeah, I know. I pretty much
the squirrel, the glitter bomb, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. Good stuff.
So like, because he's an ENTP, he has F, E, and TI in the middle. So he's not gonna make the same mistake as like the lead TIs, because the lead TI is like, I'm gonna make the best thing ever, and then everyone's gonna celebrate me, FE in the end, right? So he's not like deluded like that, right? Because he has and he's double activated play also. So like double activated FE as a result, so he can really see the tribe, right? But he has double masculine sleep, even though he's sleep lost. So it's like the perfect combination that you can imagine. So for him, he'll pull the tribe first. What do you guys want to see, right? And then the tribe will tell him what he wants to see, and then he'll build it with a TI. Perfect. Isn't that smart? It's freaking smart.
Yeah. Why haven't I never thought of this?
When he releases it, there's no surprise that people love it because he already asked them what they want, right? FE, right? What do you want? What do you like, right? And then he'll go hide in his room, do the TI, right? And then release it again, and everyone celebrates. Lots of views, lots of subscribers, blah blah blah. So like I think he created like the perfect template for like any lead TIs to follow. Like if you're you need to follow Mark Rober because like look at his process because he's doing it right. Like you guys are not doing it as right as him. Like like this. Yeah.
Actually, again, really good advice. I should have looked more into his behavior more than into just his content, but that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. Like I go to a chiropractor right now. You know what a chiropractor is? Those people that crack
something with your body, right? You have to
those people that crack your neck like
yeah.
My chiropractor, I think he's a lead TI also. I think he's also an ISTP. And I asked him a question. I'm like, have you seen this chiropractor on YouTube? This chiropractor on YouTube? This chiropractor on YouTube? Are you looking at the spectrum? He's like, no, I don't watch any of them. They're all shit, right? That's kind of like the way he's. But then but actually, he's just an average chiropractor. Yeah.
Like,
how would you feel if someone said you're just an average at this task? You know what I mean?
So if I have a high opinion of myself, it would kind of hurt, yeah.
Yeah, but you're 4, yeah. So I guess it doesn't impact you as bad as like the.
Yeah, it's not the worst, man. I don't mind being a fucking shithead, right? Or being bad at
okay. Well, it helps being a 4 because it doesn't hit you as hard. But if you were a 1 or 2 or 3, because I think this guy's probably a 3, right? And then so the ego is there, and then he's not the best chiropractor because I go to another guy who's the best, and the guy that I go to, I think he's at lead TE or at least TE savior, and he's always looking at the spectrum. He's studying all the different chiropractors, seeing which has the best practice, and he integrates it into his own. Plus, his infodom, right? So he's trying to also make sure that he has the information as accurate as possible. So, so he's the best, and I go to him and I get the best results from him when I go for treatments. It's because he's not disrespecting the tribe, right? So but yeah,
actually also a good one,
yeah, but you're a 4, so all good in the hood.
Yeah, it really doesn't hit me that hard, but sometimes I had situations in my life where I was like, oh, I'm the best at this, right? I want to be the best, and then somebody says like, not really, right? And I'm like, that hurts, right? But it's more in a very bad state, right? So if I'm really insecure about myself, that shit can get at me, right? But usually it's just okay. Man, it's, same thing again. Is like, yeah, I one day I realized like you can only go that far alone, right? Always. It's just there's no fucking way. Like with anything that you learn, other people provided you the information. So that alone is basically like you are relying on other people, right? So you can't just do it all by yourself. Yeah. So with that guy, man, he needs a slap here and there, and then just fucking get over himself.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like there's ISTPs that's doing it right. There's ISTPs that's doing it wrong. So it's like your language, right and wrong. I think
Yeah.
I think it's kind of funny, but I guess I'm like, okay, whatever. But I'll roll with it. I'll use your language, right and wrong.
Oh, really? Did I just use it like that? I didn't even notice. Or what do you mean?
Yeah, no, like deciders, they like that word, right, wrong, judgment. Like
Oh,
it's like those kind of language, right? Like, yeah, but you're a
yeah,
four.
sure.
So you have immunity, which is great. You have a
And
lot of
what sorry?
you have a lot of immunity to the typical things that would trigger an ISTP. You have like a shield, or like a you have like an antivirus kind of, like, because you're a four, right? Because you care about friends the most. So it's like, who cares about this other stuff?
Yeah,
Friends,
yeah.
like
Man, it's actually
friends, like
it's actually the funniest thing, man. I've realized that like that especially like thinking about it last couple of days, right? I was so desperate for having friends that I really didn't even look at like what am I good at, or what I do I want to be good at, like for my fucking life, right?
yeah,
And it's like for example the usual ISTP shit, right? The handyman, figuring shit out and making shit work. I like nobody thinks I'm like that, right? Not even I do. And then so recently, like
that's funny.
yesterday, I was like, so I have this interview, right? And my chair is really loud, and I was about to throw it actually away, right? And I'm like, wait, I'm an ISTP, right? So it should be really easy for me to look up how to repair the chair and then repair the chair, and it should be an easy process, right? And I was like, yeah, let's try it, right? And then I did it, and it was so much fun, man. I smelled like oil. My hands kind of hurt because I was an idiot with the screwdriver, right?
Yeah,
And I put this thing like apart, put it together, and now it fucking works, and it isn't loud anymore. And I'm like, yeah, that's
sweet.
ISTP, like it's so
Yeah,
funny.
so you can use your power anytime you want.
Yeah,
You use
and I
like
never realized I
you're
had
like
like this.
that's so funny, man. You're like, I'm an ISTP. What can I do? And then you're like, look, and then you fucking look it up, right? It's like, oh, I can do construction. All right, you're like, shit. You like shock yourself. It's so funny, you know.
Yeah, it really was like that. It's the funniest thing, man.
I
It's
can
like,
go.
I mean, I have like some stories. So I mean, like one thing I've noticed is like obviously you're fucking desperate, bitch. And in school it was like the first experience were kind of good, kind of bad, right? So one of the first things was like, okay, I go to school, I do really well, right? And the teacher praises me, and I'm like, yeah, I did the thing. So do you like me? And nobody cares, right? And everyone's like quite the opposite, because they think that like obviously people get annoyed by that shit, right?
Yeah.
And so no friends, right? And I'm like, ah, shit, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? And one day, man, I don't know, I actually gave up on that shit, right? I just was by myself and did as well as I could in school, but actually I kind of ignored it because like fuck school, man. Anyways, and then one day I accidentally made the class laugh. I did say something funny or whatever I did, and then I was like, oh, this is the best fucking feeling of my life, right? And so class clown, right? Fucking my whole fucking life. It's like it became less of like bipolar manic bullshit, right? Where I'm like crazy for attention. Later on it was just like throw like a joke here and there so they laugh, and I'm like, yeah, nice. Right.
Yeah.
And that was what I wanted to be good at, right? So I never really looked into other stuff, because that was like that thing that I actually wanted, right?
Yeah. Well, in a
So
way, you got exactly what you wanted. You
exactly, yeah. And
yeah.
then,
It's almost like you set a goal. It's like, oh, I want the laughs. Let's do
exactly,
it. Yeah, let's do more of this. All right, dude. I'm gonna ask you the last question for our interview, which is your last animal, NF blast last. So,
yeah.
this is gonna be even worse for you because you are a four, and I'll explain. Okay, and then maybe you can give me some feedback on what you think. So NF is correlated with meaning and purpose. If you're a four, you will struggle with finding your purpose and meaning in life, or maybe you won't. Maybe you found it quick, because maybe it's just to be with other people, help other people. Maybe it's as simple as that, because the meaning and purpose doesn't have to be like something like super complex, right? So let's start with the NF side first. Do you respect the NF? Can you see the NF? Can you see the vibe from the NF?
It's yeah, man, this is actually kind of funny because I think I've noticed it to some degree, even like on as before I knew typology and shit like that, right? Because what well, do I respect it, first of all? I like not automatically, man. It's like really hard work to get into that kind of state of mind and be with that. But what I've always done is like when I was like with other people and I met like some hippie dude, right? With this like weird dress and long hair and unshaved and shit like that and talking all about the woo kind of crazy crap, right? And I was like, oh, cool, man. I want to be with that guy, right? So let's go there in a way. So, and yeah, I always like it was all kind of a guilty pleasure, right? Where I was like, okay, I kind of want to look into that stuff, but I don't want to tell anybody because it's fucking, I'm ashamed of it, right? So yeah, that's kind of a thing. And these days I'm trying to like, I had like one really, I have one friend, right? He is way into that NF shit, right? Like completely out of this fucking world. And I like, and at first I kind of fought it because so we had a lot of fights because it was like I got so annoyed by it, right? Because he's bombarding me with this shit. I think he's also like Blast Savior, I don't know, or at least Play Savior. And it's like he's bombarding me with this shit, and I'm like, shut the fuck up, man. Just, like there is science and shit like that. Not in those words, right? And then man, one day I was like, dude, just listen for once, right? It's not like just listen to what he has to tell you, right? And then I was like, okay, tell me more about that, right? And then oh, that like flipped the switch like for the first time in my life where I was like, oh shit, this is like, oh, this is emotions, right? And here I can connect with people, and then there is meaning, and actually everything makes sense, right? Because usually, man, I do the things that I do, right? Like, okay, I had to become a programmer so I can pay my money, right? I want to have friends and all that shit. And it's like, but why do I do this? Like, I don't know, man, right? And that was like one, like when I talked to him and had like a couple sessions like talking about shit, right? It was like for the first time I had like this completely like switch in my mind, so to speak. So yeah, I do respect it a lot, but it's very difficult to get back into that state of mind. Currently, I'm just again, right, nothing really means anything to me, and I don't know where to go in life, right? So no purpose, nothing. But I know this side of me exists, and I can access it, but it's just kind of a heavy door to open.
Well, I mean, like I said, you can have meaning by being with other people, you know, like
Yeah, true.
so yeah. So it's not like I think force can find meaning for sure. It's but it's not gonna be like kind of like what Bill Gates is doing. You're like, I'm gonna make a Bill Gates Foundation and I'm gonna, eradicate diseases. No, it's not gonna be like that for four. It's gonna be more local, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like let's say like, oh yeah, I'll help like homeless people, you know, which
yeah, that's
yeah,
kind of a funny thing. That's what I actually wanted to do. And similar stuff like that. Sorry, I didn't want to mean to interrupt.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Okay, let's talk about the last part of the blast: getting started and producing and speaking clearly. Can you share your struggles with that?
I mean, I hope I was somewhat clear today.
Well, you are because you have ST. You have ST as your savior.
Yeah.
So at least you're sensory clear. Imagine your first animal is like NF. Then
oh yeah. Oh man.
And no one knows what the fuck you're saying, right?
Yeah. That's the funniest thing. Like with Johnny Depp, I think it was, or not Johnny Depp, the Iron Man guy. Like when I heard like his Rogan interview, I was like, well, what the fuck is going on? What is he talking about?
That's why you're not Iron Man.
Yeah, blast like so for me it was really easy to type myself blast when I heard about the animals, right? Because it was like never get started, right? Because so at work it's a different matter, right? You tell me what to do, I do the thing, right? But like getting myself to do like I have a monitor here, right? I bought it like 5 months ago or something like that, right? I never fucking plugged it into shit like that, right? Or it takes me a long while. Like sometimes like people tell me, yeah, do this, and I'm like, yeah, later, and later is like 2 weeks later, right? Unless somebody is like, hey, dude, come on. Like in my private life, right? At work it's different. It's like, okay, right, you already know what to do, and there's a fucking list. You have everything organized and shit like that, and then it fucking works. But like with the and this is speaking clearly. That's a funny thing. So one of my buddies is currently like learning Excel for school, right? And I know a bit of Excel because I fucking love the program, or came to love it anyways. And he's like, oh, do you know how I can do this? Yeah, I remember. It's like blah. And then I talk random crap, right? And then I'm like, okay, this doesn't help him at all, right? Because I'm just blabbering. I'm like, okay, just Google it, right? Google, use that phrase, Google it, right? And so I kind of blasted by helping him consume, right? So this is basically like the actual opposite of blast, because I just couldn't explain the shit. I'm like, yeah, I know, it's like there, try this, and then that doesn't work, right?
The weird thing though is you have masculine NI, so technically you have something organized already in your known box, and you have it in a savior state with your sleep, right? So it's like the weird thing about your type is like, because you do have that masculine NI, you do have something organized. So it's communicating what you've organized that seems to be difficult because you already have it inside your head, right?
Yeah.
So where's the struggle coming from to like explain it to the other person in an organized manner? You know, like where's the struggle coming from?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think.
Let me give you an example to help jumpstart you, okay? So one of the people that I like to follow, so I'm a 2, so I like business, right? So I follow like a lot of people who's into business. So there's an INFJ. His name is Frank Kern. So he teaches people how to do business essentially, but he's an INFJ, so his boss is NF, right? So how the hell are you gonna use NF to explain business to someone? Like that's so like what the hell, you know? You think about it, right? Like how the hell do you explain business to someone using NF, right? Because his boss is NF, right? But so for you, for example, the way you could explain business could be like, oh, okay, so if you a good way to make money is like, let's say you go to a garage sale, buy some stuff really cheap, and then go to Facebook Marketplace, and then you can sell it for like a higher price, right?
Yeah.
And then you can see it's like, okay, that makes sense. That's like ST, right? Step 1, go garage sale. Step 2, list it on Facebook Marketplace. Step 3, get the money. Easy, right? Yeah, it's very straight. But what about NF? What the fuck is NF like for business, right? But his is so good. He's like, this is the goal, because NF is all about like, what's the point? What's the purpose, right? This is the person's goal, right? They want either more money, happier life, be more fit, whatever the goal is right here. Either fitness, happiness, financial, whatever, right? This is the goal.
Yeah.
This is where they are right now. Either no money, maybe no friends, can't find a date, whatever your problem is, right?
Yeah.
So that's like the starting and the ending. So as a person doing business using NF, the way he described it is, you're gonna help them along the way to get to the goal, and every tip that you give them is gonna help them bring closer to the goal. And after you give them your tip, you ask if they want to buy your product and service, because it's gonna help them get here. So you're taking them along the timeline, the milestones through. So it's very abstract, but you can kind of get it, right? Like, taking you the journey, right, to get you to the end goal. But it's NF because he didn't actually tell you what to do anything. Like for the other one, it was concrete. Go to garage sale, buy the item for super low, go to Facebook Marketplace, list it for higher, and then collect profit, right? That's like concrete, right? Here it's not concrete. It's like, starting point, end point.
Yeah.
The tip I give you will give you to the end point, but it's NI because the point of NI is it applies to anything, right? So if you're in fitness, you can stick the sensory into that NI. You can be like, work out in the gym 3 times a week, and do squats, deadlifts, bench press, all that stuff, right? So you can shove all the sensory into the NI. It's like, so for example, like the goal is get really ripped and rip, right? Like six pack and like just rip, right? So and then here you're like fat and like sedentary, sitting doing an office job, right? Yeah. So step 1, go to the gym, right? And then so you can use a sensory also, but that the point is he's shoving it into any industry, because if you do fitness, it can be like gym, workout plan, nutrition plan, sleeping plan, stress relief, like all those will help you lose weight, right? So but then you can also do it for relationship, like what is the step 1, step 2, step 3 to get like a girlfriend or whatever, Step one, don't look like a homeless person, step, dress
I'm
nice.
trying, man. I'm trying.
Yeah, and then step two, go take some improv classes so you learn how to talk to people and improvise and be funny and entertaining, right? So work on your personality. So like but like the point he's trying to make is like, this is NI, right? It's like this is where you are, this is the end goal, and this is the steps that you need to do. That's NI, because you can shove anything there, any industry you can shove in each of those things, Does that make sense to you? It's kind of confusing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. Like with the NI I can get, and
so that's NF. That's NF
what
blast.
I'm wondering is like where the FE comes in play in that equation, right? Because is it kind of like a value? You kind of try to sell the value of the process, for example, or how do?
Well, this is what you want. The NF is endpoint, right? What's the point? The point is you get to be happy, or the point is you get to be fit.
Okay.
I see.
Point. Okay, I didn't see that.
What's the point? Like, what's the point of this? Like, you hear, the problem with the NT people, they'll argue with each other nonstop, right? And then the NF person will be like, what's the point of this argument? Like, what are you guys trying to get at? Like, what's the point of this? They're like, but the point is I want to be right. I'm like, that's not the point.
Yeah.
And also, even if you're right, you're still an idiot because you wasted time when you could be working on something more important. You argued with that person, this person, so this person now doesn't like you because you argued with them, and so not only do you come across as an asshole, you have no friends. Did you really win? You know what I mean? So that's like
arguing with people sucks anyways.
Yeah, and then for you, it's like no, everyone comes to you and you have lots of friends. So who's a smarter person? This person or the person after, right? So
this one. Yeah, true.
Yeah,
no, this is really good. This is really interesting. Yeah. Kind of funny that the blast is related to productivity in a sense, and then if you have NF blast, you're basically like kind of like it's almost sounds like hippie productivity, right?
Yeah, it is hippie-ish, but it's also true because NF is real. So that's why it's part of OPS. It's like, what's the point? What are you trying to do here? So for example, for you, if your goal, so part NF is like the goal, right? If your goal is to help the homeless people, have something to eat and stuff, then how can you? The next step could be the ST, right? Then how can you do it? Because at least the goal, the NF. The point is, I want to make sure that there's no homeless people in the street, right? Or at least they're not suffering, right?
Yeah.
So then the goal, right? And then your blast would be like, okay, I'm going to make them feel better, at least for a day, by getting them some food, right?
That resonates a lot. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you want to scale it, then you can use your NT to scale, right? It's like, okay, if I want to help 1,000 homeless people, then I need to work X amount of hours at work to make this much money so I can help even more people. And then when you help people, then everyone loves you and you get the FE, right? Because it's real. It's real also.
Yeah.
It's like when you help someone for real, then it's real love. It's not fake love, like.
True, yeah.
Yeah. So so there you go. Like the NF is super important, man. Like that's cannot be overlooked, man. That's like, especially for you guys with NF last.
Yeah, it's true, man. It's like that resonates a lot. It just didn't really make sense until now, right? So it's kind of also the way I understand it right now is also like kind of about priorities, right? What's the point, right? So what's the point is also kind of like setting priorities in a sense.
Yeah, you can ask yourself this question for everything. What's the point of you not working and rubbing your cat's belly? Or I mean, it's not right or wrong. It's not a judgment thing. So. It's not a judgment thing. It could be right? You have to ask yourself, what's the point of this? And everything you do from now on, you have to ask, what's the point? What's the point? What's the point? What's the point? What's my end goal? What's the point? Like, you have to keep like harassing yourself with this question, right? What's the point? I'm being lazy right now. I'm not producing anything. Why? What's the point? What's the point? What's the point of me doing this? What's the end goal? Is this bringing me closer to my end goal?
Yeah, true, man. This is actually quite good. I mean, I had like the same thing, the same question, but taken way in the negative, right? Like, what's the point of living? Shit like that, right? And then you don't find an answer because
that's not bad. Yeah, I guess you could use it for. I guess you have a demon NF, so that's why you're thinking of it from a negative standpoint.
Yeah, exactly. I had this like for a long time, right? Because that's like the only like. But well, I didn't have the context that you just gave me, obviously, and because then I was like emotionally damaged as fuck. So
I think you came to that conclusion because your blast is OI, right? So it's concluded. So you already concluded that it's something pessimistic because it's OI, right? My NF, even though it's demon, it's OE, it's gathering. So I see it as positive because it's not concluded. There's any possibilities, right? So so maybe people tend to be more pessimistic with their OI animals, and more optimistic with their OE animals. Like I notice people with like you guys, for example, with like SE in your function stack, that like losing money is not as a big of a deal as like someone with like SI. Because those ENTPs, they get so weird with money, right? The ENTPs, they're like the weirdest type with money, I think, is ENTP and ISFJ. Because they don't have SE, right? So for you with SE, you're like, yeah, more money can come in. What's the point? I can just gather more money. Who cares? Who gives a shit, right? But for them, it's like, no, it's finite. It's SI, right? I have to hoard it. I have to protect it, Then they get freaking weird, right? It's like, unless they have feminine SI. Yeah. So sorry, what did you say?
Do you see that in yourself as well because of the SI, or is it like
100%? That's I'm letting go of it now because I understand it's bullshit. I used to be so protective of it, and when I let it go, it actually started coming in more. So I'm like, okay, which is like, and then I'm like, okay, so I'm not gonna protect it as like I'm not gonna go overboard though. There's also the problem with some SE people. It's like the money's gonna keep running. It's never gonna run out, and then they have no savings because especially like the ESFPs or something, right? Or ESTPs, right? Who don't plan ahead. So because the demon NI, right? So no like future planning. So it's also not good. So there's like a balance somewhere. Obviously, like you as a double observer know the balance, right? The SE and the NI. You can plan
I'm still looking more on the SE side and kind of not
you're on the SE side, but you can still plan. You're not gonna get screwed like the actual like ESFPs and ESTPs, right? But like even for me as like as a single observer, I can say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna follow what you guys are doing because the double observers, you guys are doing it right. You guys are approaching it the right way. Like yes, there's you can't hold on to the money too tight, but you also need to control it. So it's like so you need to have like a system to make sure that it's not like too crazy either way, so so then that's kind of what I've been practicing. I just watch you guys like the IPs and EJs, and then I'm like, oh, okay, you guys are doing it like this, so it must mean it's not a big problem, it's like double deciding, right? You just have to watch the EPs and IJs, and if they're not freaking out about it, then you probably shouldn't.
I think like right, you kind of subconsciously know what kind of people you need in your life in a sense, right? So and I was always attracted to EPs, and I think like two of my best friends actually are EPs, and it's like every time I like I'm in my head, it's the craziest thing, right? For me, it's so fucking real, and everything is fucked up, and I fucked up, and this person is angry, and all that shit, or I get angry because somebody made some disorder here and there, right? And I'm like in my head, and then that guy's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm like, oh thanks, man. And all that it's all that I need, right?
Well, even my ISTP friend, the double extroverted one, I mean like the extroverted one that consume, play, blast, sleep, like I'm his friend. I'm an ENFP, right? And then because we're gonna hang out today, we're gonna play some PlayStation.
Awesome.
So and our other friend, he's an ISTJ, so he has an IJ friend and an EP friend, and we're both double deciders, right? So every time he's thinking of something stupid, he has two people to like tell him, hey man, you're being an idiot, stop.
Yeah. It's been the greatest thing, man. If you just get slapped on the face and it's like, oh man, thanks, I needed it, man.
But actually it's funny because my friend, the ISTP friend, he's trying to tell us how to double observe. My ISTJ friend will not accept it. He refused to accept it. He refused. And for me, because I know OPS, right? I'm like, okay, he's double observing right now. I need to listen to him. So I'm like, hey, you're right, man. I'm listening to you. He's like, well, this other guy's not listening. I'm like, he doesn't know OPS. I don't like. I can't explain to him. He's lead sensory. He doesn't believe he has any in the bottom. He won't. Like demon N means you don't understand, right? You have a hard time with understanding. So even if I explain to him, he's not gonna understand. So like, I have to explain to him like for like so many hours. I don't want to do it. I just want to play video games. Like I'm not gonna. I don't care enough to let him understand, right? So
I mean, he has to eventually turn to like get
He'll
get
understand
better.
when he's 60, he'll get it.
Yeah, that's fine, man.
Like
That's
8,
okay.
yeah.
I
All
mean,
right,
I also like, yeah, with one of my buddies, right? I think he's an EP as well. And it's like he goes on way too crazy shit sometimes, right? Like with the war in Ukraine and just sees one side and just can't get the right. And I'm trying to explain, but like, if I don't want to annoy you, so right, I stop.
Let's just hang out. Yeah. All right, dude. Let's go wrap up the interview here. So, Alex, thanks for coming out and sharing more about your life as introverted ISTP. That's 4, so it's a unique combination. So it's
selfish but desperate ass. Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me here. It was a great pleasure, and yeah, I hope to see more from you soon in the future. And yeah.
All right, man. Take care. Have a good night.
Take care. Bye bye.